Good morning. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we're live at the HCCTV studios this morning on this Tuesday, June the 13th. Good to have you with us. We've got a special show coming up talking about Juneteenth today, not far away. And I've got my co-host Benji Escobar joining me. Benji, now I know you must be at home because you're using a background which shows exactly where I am right now.
I'm actually here in the studio next to you.
What, you see, you get my
This is not the background. Look, this
You must have snuck in there because I came in this studio and you weren't in there.
Yeah, we try to be invisible to everybody else, you know.
Okay. All right. Well, that's why you confused me. All right. So Benji's next door. I'm here. Either way, we're going to bring you the show this morning live from HCCTV studios. We want to thank everyone watching us on Facebook Live and YouTube. And Benji, they can always catch us here when HCC is in session. They can also watch us on HCCTV as well.
Yeah, you can catch us on Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC, but Houston Community College District. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our own TV channel, HCCTV, where you can catch a rebroadcast of this show at noon, 5 and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Good deal. All right, Benji, stick around because you'll be talking with us next guest. I want to introduce right now Aaron Henry. He is the coordinator of student life at HCC's Northwest College, and we're talking about Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration. Aaron, good to have you with us this morning.
Good to have you. Thank you for having me this morning, Todd. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Now, I know you've got a big celebration coming out there. Benji's going to be with you in about 10 minutes. But first, we're going to transition to another guest. Stick around. We'll be with you shortly.
Okay, thank you.
All right. First up, Syble Davis is the co-coordinator of the Bridge Puente program and speaker, Use Your Power, Take Action. Welcome back to the show, Syble. Let's see if we can get you to, can you unmute your mic? There we go. Good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Now, we're going to get to the event at the Northwest College in just a bit, but first, give us some background about Juneteenth and for those who may not know the significance, especially here in Texas.
Well, Juneteenth is it's a holiday now. Unfortunately, it is a federal holiday, thanks to President Biden, who signed he signed it in 2021. However, I have been celebrating, and a lot of African Americans have been celebrating it since my inception, which, all my life. It is celebrated Juneteenth, June 19th, that is, which is the day that General Granger came to Galveston, Texas, which President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in January of '63, but it did not come to Texas until 1965. And that's when the enslaved people of Texas were free. And that's when the celebration started for us here in Texas, those of us who are native Texans.
I mean, we've always known about it here in Texas, but why did it take so long for the holiday to be recognized by the rest of the country? Was it because this was the last area of the states that it was announced? Is that the significance there?
Well, I must admit that it took so long for it to be perhaps recognized formally, but other people have recognized it. It has been recognized throughout the United States because of the Great Migration. People have come from the South going up to the North. So I must admit that people who knew about it did celebrate it. It may not have been recognized formally, but it has always been celebrated, especially among African American people.
And now it's a federal holiday.
Yes, it is.
And as chair of the Friends of the African American Library for the Gregory School, tell us about Freedmen's Town.
Freedmen's Town is in Fourth Ward here in Houston, Texas, of course, and it is the area when we were recognized here in Houston, when 1,000 enslaved people migrated here to Houston from the surrounding plantations, and they got to Fourth Ward, which was Freedmen's Town, and they bought that land over there because it was swampy. Because it was cheap, simply because it was swampy, and they developed it with it made a town there. And some of the prominent people who we know, who we're familiar with, you probably know, you've heard of course, is Jack Yates, who started along with Mr. Coleman, Jack Yates' son, Rutherford. I think this was his name. I don't know. Aaron is very familiar with those people because that is his school and he is a Yates person. But anyway, and they built a community there. They built Antioch Church, which is still there. They built, and there's a lot of prominent people who come out of that area. Antioch Church still stands there. The community, and they built that Fourth Ward area, and that became Freedmen's Town.
People, if for people who may not know, they know Houston, and you hear 6th Ward, 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, 4th Ward. Maybe you can give us some of the borders so that Houstonians can get an idea of which streets we're talking about that surrounded Freedmen's Town.
Victor Street. I'm not a natural Houstonian. I call myself a transplant because I've been here 40 years. I came here from East Texas, Palestine, Texas, that is, to come to Texas Southern University. And when I got to TSU, it was one of the things that Texas Southern did for us, those of us who were not Houstonians. It gave us Houston's history. And let me try to gather my thoughts. I do remember Victor Street. I remember,
Antioch, isn't Antioch off of Elgin or?
Elgin Street.
Yeah, so we're talking about the border around Highway 288 and Elgin, which is not that far from HCC's district offices here.
Absolutely.
And for Houstonians, that's the area of town we're talking about that's known as Freedmen's Town. Would that be correct?
That is correct. Allen Parkway, around that area. Allen, right, who was, I think, the founder of Houston, one of the founders, the Allen brothers, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember that TSU history, that the history teacher that told us about it. But I do remember, I know that the school, Gregory School, is is on Victor Street. I do recall that street.
Right.
And that's where the school is located, the museum, the library there.
Can you maybe tell us about, is it representative as Al Edwards was heavily involved in becoming the father of Juneteenth in Houston?
Yes,
tell us about that.
Yes, he was. And I say was because he is gone now. But he was very, very instrumental in making this a federal holiday. Al Edwards was our representative here for the 3rd Ward area. Well, the area in which we live here, which is HCC, is a part of the Central District, and he tirelessly worked until it became recognized, especially here in Houston, which when I got to Houston, it was heavily recognized. We celebrated all the time. It was just before it was a national holiday, it was a major holiday here in Houston. We celebrated grandly. But he, in 2018, I do believe the Friends of the Gregory Library, we celebrated him. He was very ill, but I did send some pictures of him when we celebrated him. And he was so happy about the idea of being celebrated, for making this day a great day, because it was becoming what he wanted it to become. And he fought hard for it, and it finally came into fruition. I think just before he died, it did become a national holiday. But he is called the father of Juneteenth, and he is known that all over the nation of the United States as being the father of Juneteenth, working tirelessly to make it a holiday, a federal holiday.
Well, Syble, I appreciate you being here this morning, bringing us up to speed on some of the history of Juneteenth. We want to thank you. We wish you the best of luck as a co-coordinator of the Bridge Puente program and chair of the Friends of the African American Library for the Gregory School. Thanks for joining us this morning.
And thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right, we've got a big event happening at the Northwest College about Juneteenth. Benji, and you've got Aaron as your guest. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, we have Aaron Henry, the coordinator of Student Life for HCC Northwest. How you doing today, Aaron?
I'm great, Benji. How are you?
Awesome. I'm feeling great, and nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So first, tell us the details about Thursday's event. I mean, we want to hear about it.
Well, I want to say we are celebrating Juneteenth, as Todd mentioned, Freedom Day. There are other terms that have gone around this particular holiday, such as Jubilee. And it's an opportunity for all of us to celebrate. Actually, in all honesty, slavery being abolished here in the United States. It was June, as Syble shared, June 19, 1865 was when we received notice here in Texas, right? After 2 years of the Civil War had been, actually the Emancipation Proclamation, as she mentioned, was issued, and the war had passed. But there were slaves still here in Texas because they had not received the information about the emancipation of these slaves. There are a lot of theories around that. Stories. One, that that the federal troop was killed en route to Texas to provide this information because they wanted to keep African Americans enslaved here in Texas. But this is why it's so exciting, is because 2 years later, 3 years later, but the news did get here, and African Americans were told that they were in fact free. And I could just imagine that day, in being told that what has been happening since about 1619, that they were now free. After 400 years, they are now in fact free. And so it's a great opportunity, and we're celebrating Juneteenth at Northwest College, on as many of our other sister colleges here in the system. But Northwest is celebrating with a panel. We have some of our scholars, our English scholar you met today, Professor Davis. We have our DEI officer, Dr. Baskin. We have Dr. Angela Anderson, a speech professor, as well as Dr. Samuel Hawksett, who is a professor of history. And I'm going to moderate that panel on Thursday, and we're going to have a great opportunity to engage our students, our staff, and our faculty in a particular theme around using your voice. And it's a great theme, I believe, to engage our students to be able to not just for African Americans, but for all of our students to recognize the importance of using their voice, because we don't want anybody to, while we're no longer enslaved. And I just want to clarify that it was not the Emancipation Proclamation that abolished slavery. It was the 13th Amendment. I always say that to make sure that we understand that in this country, it's laws that make things happen. And it was the 13th Amendment that actually abolished slavery. And we want to make sure that nobody is enslaved or shackled, even today, using their minds and especially using their voice. And so we want to make sure that our students not only commemorate and celebrate this opportunity, but that we encourage and we engage our students in a way to cause them to use their voice.
Okay. Yeah. So I know the panel that's going to happen. How did you decide on that panel to celebrate Juneteenth? How did that come about?
Well, one of the things that I thought was important, I'm a historian by trade. And so one of the things that I thought was important is that not only did we celebrate and commemorate this great celebration, that's worthy of celebration, as Syble talked about earlier, but how do we engage our students today, right? How do we encourage the students today? What is it that students today, and again, not just African-American students, but all of our students, what can they use today? What can they get actually from this event? Not just to hear about, we can give the lessons about Juneteenth, we can give the lessons and teach American history, about Jim Crow and about the civil rights movement, and we can talk about slavery and the economic response from slavery and why slavery existed in America. But more so, what can our students use today beyond just those lessons? And I think one of the things, particularly in our nation today, and even in our world, one thing that they need to know that they have is their voice. And we don't want that shackled by students not having the opportunity to engage and use their voice. And so I thought that this panel would be a great opportunity for their professors and other scholars at the institutions and leaders to be able to talk to the students about using their voice in a positive way, right? Being able to be heard at the ballot box and being able to get things changed. Because again, there was that 13th Amendment, and right, so we have that access through the ballot boxes here in America. Of
course, and do you know some of those topics that are going to be talked at the panel yet, or?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, one of the things that we're going to talk about allyship. through diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to talk about the importance of culture, the importance of recognizing individual cultures and celebrating cultures, even if it's not your own culture, right? The importance of engaging our students to celebrate that. We're going to talk about, of course, using your voice, amplifying your voice. We're going to talk about voting, the importance of voting. You know, a lot of students, particularly under the age of 30, don't necessarily believe that their voice actually is heard. But we're going to show them and talk to them about how their voices are actually heard. We're going to talk about student leadership. We have a lot of student leaders at our Northwest College and throughout our system. And we want to be able to teach our leaders, you know, the best way to be engaged, which of course I'll just keep saying is using your voice. And so we're going to talk about many of those things. We're going to talk about the history of Juneteenth. We're going to talk about some of those things that Todd and Syble talked about. We're going to talk about Emancipation Park, which is the oldest park in the city of Houston in 3rd Ward, that was purchased by, you said it's down the street from you.
Yeah, down the street here
right
from
on Elgin. And that's where it was actually, that land was actually purchased to celebrate Juneteenth by, I know you all mentioned the Reverend Jack Yates, Reverend Mr. Elias Dibble, Mr. Richard Allen. Those were 3 Black men. And at that time, I think it was $700 at that time in 1865 that African Americans had, and they used that to purchase that park. And you know, to be correct, that is the oldest park in the city of Houston, and it is a park that was purchased by Black men for the use of celebrating. They were so excited about being free and to celebrate Juneteenth. And so Reverend Yates, and I think you guys talked a little bit about Freedmen's Town. Reverend Yates settled in Freedmen's Town because Reverend Yates was actually freed, and he arrived here in Houston from Virginia. And actually, he was a minister, a businessman, and I am a proud graduate of the institution that bears his name here in Houston, and that is Jack Yates Senior High School in 3rd Ward. Actually, I have a lot of ties. My mom was actually born in Freedmen's Town.
Wow.
That Syble talked about, that was the place, the swampy land, or the land that nobody necessarily wanted, that African Americans were able to settle in. Many African Americans, not my generation, but many before, were born at Jeff Davis Hospital, which was near that area, the county hospital. And so we have a lot of ties to that area. I know they talked a little bit about the boundaries, and I just want to share that the boundaries for Freedmen's Town starts near Smith Street downtown at West Gray. And it used to go all the way to Shepherd Street, and it bordered back over where Syble talked about, over off of Allen Parkway. You know, there are several cemeteries that are over there in that area where you will find a lot of actual Union soldiers are buried there. Some Union soldiers are buried there, and many of the African Americans that have perished over the years were buried in those cemeteries. And so there's a lot of rich history there. The African American Library, the Gregory Library is there that she talked about. And so African Americans, primarily, that was where we hubbed at. That's where we got our starts, and we began to migrate throughout the city of Houston. And so where you will find many of the areas that Black folks, or African Americans rather, migrated was to South Park, Sunnyside, and they would migrate, of course, finally to 3rd Ward, which is what we call the epic of the economic corridor, as Sheila Jackson Lee, our representative, says. It's where you will find a lot of prominent African Americans. And you all talked a little bit about Representative Al Edwards, who's someone I knew as a kid. Representative Al Edwards is from 3rd Ward. He was a member of Progressive Church right there on Elgin Street across from Ryan Middle School, which is the original Jack Yates High School. And he is, in fact, the father of Juneteenth. He worked tirelessly as a state representative for many years to recognize that event. And in fact, it was a state holiday for many years. I believe it was in the 80s that it was passed. So the state of Texas has long recognized the importance of Juneteenth, and we've celebrated it. And yes, it's now a national holiday. Where it's recognized as a federal holiday across the United States. And so one of the things I think that Syble shared, which is important, is because of that migration beginning in 1916, many of those folks that were in the South migrated through many areas, such as New York and Chicago on the East, as well as up north in Michigan and Detroit. And so you would find, as she mentioned, she said she's a transplant, but they are technically transplant. She's a Houstonian in many ways, but and so you would find that, that those pockets of celebration exist because those folks left from the South. for many of the reasons. And so, we're going to celebrate all of that on Thursday. It's going to be, I think, a really exciting time. We're going to have barbecue to commemorate Juneteenth. And I'll just say, as a kid growing up, that's what we had. We celebrated with barbecue and watermelon. And as my dad would say, red soda water. And so we're going to have that to commemorate the celebration. And I think it's just going to be an interesting time. Our president, Dr. Hodges, is scheduled to be there to welcome individuals to Northwest. He's excited about the celebration. Our dean, Mr. Rodney McLaurin, is excited about the celebration as Dr. Rima Adil. So we're just ready to engage, not just Northwest, but we're inviting all of Houston Community College and anybody you want to bring to come and celebrate with us out at Northwest College.
Okay, so give us those final details. What time, what place, just very fast. This is the last.
Okay, so real quickly. So we're going to be celebrating at our Katy campus, which is, I think it's 22910 Colonial Parkway. I may be incorrect, but it's just Google the Katy campus on Colonial Parkway near 99. It's let's see, it's at 11:30. I believe it starts at 11:30 in the morning, and we will run to 1 o'clock. So the panel will generally run probably 11:30 to 12:15, 12:40, 12:30, no later than 12:30. And then we will just, as my grandmother would say, we'll just have a jubilee of a celebration, just eat and enjoy one another's company, celebrate each other's culture. I believe HCCTV is going to be there to take some shots and to get some interviews with folks. So we're just going to have a good time, as we always do here at HCC.
All right, well, thank you so much, Aaron Henry, coordinator of Student Life for HCC Northwest. And we'll have all of the info on the post after the show. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Aaron and Syble. Okay. We got a few awards. We got a few awards to go through, Benji. One thing to talk about for our announcements. Congrats to a few HCCTV staffers for winning a Telly Award. Up to the Minute's own technical director, Nathan Hale, has received the Bronze Telly Award for his work as director and editor for an HCC online promo video, assisted by HCCTV producer Mohammed Alobaidi. For his morphing work, it won for promotional video educational institutions. Pretty cool. So congratulations to them both. Check our post after the show where you can see the whole video. Okay. And there's also a lunchtime seminar that's coming up that people need to know about.
Yeah, we're calling it Bite-Sized Learning AI Lunchtime Webinar. Texas Digital Learning Association will present artificial intelligence for teaching and learning for its free Bite-Sized Learning Lunchtime Webinars. With AI rapidly changing the way we view education, attendees can learn about how such tools as ChatGPT, Packback, Engadgely, it can be applied in the classroom to improve teaching and learning outcomes. This will take place Wednesday, June 14th from noon to 1 p.m., which is tomorrow. Check out our post after the show for registration info.
So we talked about the Juneteenth celebrations happening at our Katy campus on Thursday. Also on Thursday, Coleman is having a Juneteenth celebration. Celebrate the historic liberation of African Americans with food and festivities at the Coleman Tower Atrium. Of course, it's free. It's 11 a.m. Thursday, June 15th at HCC's Coleman Tower Atrium. We'll have a post after the show with more information for that. And there's still time to sign up your high schoolers for smart summer camps here at HCC.
Yeah, various Texas manufacturing industries will be introduced to high school students over a 5-day summer camp. This will take place June 26th through the 30th, which will be Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the HCC Stafford campus. For more info, please check the email address in our post after the show.
More awards to talk about. 6 HCC colleagues have received League of Innovation Excellence Awards for their outstanding efforts in enhancing education, developing the college's first immersive educational spaces for students to interact digitally. They have provided simulated real-world scenarios in which they can better develop their knowledge and talents. The honorees include Cheryl Whitaker, Shasta Beveridge, Chef Katie Ronhell, Dr. Alicia DeJong, Ruben Duran, and Dr. Mudassir Siddiqui. Congratulations to you all. We'll have some information in our post after the show. And Benji, have you registered for the fall yet?
Yes, I have.
You have? Wow. You followed your own advice.
Y'all need to do that too.
Yeah, there's still time to register for the fall and I believe one last summer session as well.
Yeah, so fall registration has now begun, but you can now still register for some summer courses. All classes offer in-person and online options like online anytime, online on a schedule, hybrid, in-person, which is my favorite, and hybrid lab. To learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover costs, please visit hccs.edu/apply. Again, that is hccs.edu/apply.
Okay, for Small Business Wednesday tomorrow, we'll be talking about another junior achievement success story. This one went there to saving the earth. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And later for Thursday Family Fun Day, we'll visit the Health Museum. And for Film Friday, we're talking about the Cannes Film Festival. All that more later in the week. So busy week lined up. Benji, of course, we'll see you next week. And next time, because I'm going to be here next Tuesday. When I go into Studio A,
And you want to see me here?
I want to make sure I see you there.
Okay, of course.
Yeah. Because we thought you were at home today, but that's fine. We just want to make sure we see you there.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for joining us this morning on HCCTV's Up to the Minute. We'll see you tomorrow morning live at 10 a.m.